All right, we're going to start Chapter 2. Before we do it, let's do this. I don't care. The way you do what I'm about to show you is going to depend on what editor you're using, okay? But I'm going to go and I'm going to bring up in my desktop here. I'd like you to do the same thing. However you want to do it. You want to go right on the desktop and do it, that's fine. But I'm going to, on my desktop here, I'm going to right mouse click, I'm going to choose New Folder. And I'm just going to call this folder JavaScript Example 1. All right? So that would be like yesterday or the other day when you called it Hot 5. So I created a new folder that I called JavaScript Example 1. You're not turning this in. You know, if you want to call it Maya. I don't care. All right? So then double click on that folder after you've created it. And after it opens, we're going to create 3 more folders. One called CSS, one called Images, and one called JS. All right, so we've got a folder that's called JavaScript Example 1, and in that folder are 3 more folders: CSS, Images, and JS. With me? All right, first thing I'm going to do then is not in any folder, not in any of these 3 folders, but right here. Look on the screen, please. Again, I'm going to right mouse click on here, not in any of these 3 folders, but inside of my JavaScript Example 1. I'm going to right mouse click, I'm going to choose New, but now I'm going to put in Text Document, right there.
I can't do that.
However you create a brand new document, then create a brand new document. And I just want it to be index.html. So I want that in there. So right now we've got a folder called JavaScript Example 1 with an empty folder in it called CSS, an empty folder in it called Images, an empty folder in it called JS, and a file called index.html. Are you all with me? All right. Then I'm going to double click on the CSS folder. And inside of there, I'm going to create a new file or a new text document as well. However you want to do this. And this is going to be called style.css. So now I have this JavaScript Example 1 folder. It's got an index.html file in it, a CSS folder with style.css in it, and that's it. I'm going to open up, I'm going to create one more file, and I'm going to double click on the JS folder, and I'm going to create in there a new file that's just going to be called source.js. That's it. All right. Look at the little kind of funny insignia there. If you make a JavaScript file correctly, that's what it should look like. Then yours is probably called source.js.txt. You don't want that. So remove that file, go back there, and do another new text document. And when you give it a name, make sure that when you give it a name, so if it comes up looking like this, you've got to highlight the whole thing, remove it, and then type in source.js. Mine won't work because I already have one with that name.
Mine just came up with a little picture of a JS.
That's fine. What are you doing it in? Just get rid of that. Just totally get rid of that. All right, right now let's click again. New text document. No, get rid of that. Now type in source.js. Yes. Yeah, then it's all right. All right. Now you got basically when you set up everything for your next test, this is how you're going to set it up. So, I mean, you could make a copy of this folder if you wanted to, but you don't have to, just so you know. All right, so I wanted us to have that so when we start writing some code, you know, we've already got a place to start, so to speak. So, Chapter 2. The goal of this chapter is to get you off to a good start with JavaScript, especially if you're new to programming. If you have experience with another language, it's really not that hard to adapt to JavaScript. From what I heard from the two of you, you don't have experience in other languages, which is fine. That's normally the way it is in this class, so that's okay. All right, we're going to look at good ways and bad ways of doing some stuff. Did you hear me? So we're going to look at all the different ways that you could include JavaScript. There's actually 3. We're going to do that first. We're going to do all of them, just so you see them. All right? Then the JavaScript syntax. We're going to start talking about that. Then we'll talk about data, very little bit about objects and properties because that's confusing. Then what we'll do is we'll look at these applications. Maybe we'll even write this ourselves. We'll see where we are. All right? Like I said, most of today is going to be lecture. We probably won't even finish this chapter before you have your next break. All right? But I want to get done with 2 and 3. Why? Tomorrow, then, we can work on the homework. All right? I can get you started on it and show you exactly what I'm looking for. All right? All right. So, 2 ways to include JavaScript in the head of an HTML document. I'm thinking rather than lecture on it, I'm going to show you. All right? So, that folder that we just created, the one that's called JavaScript example, where is mine? There it is. So there's mine right there, JavaScript example 1. See this? All right, I'm going to double click on that folder, and I'm going to open up my index.html file. Do you hear me? I'm opening up. I want you to do the same thing. Open up your index.html file. Now, you got your choice. All right? Not from there. For you, since you're using VS Code, you can go in and copy this stuff. You're not using VS Code, and again, I don't know if it's because you're using a Mac or what, but I know you have problems with yours. I want you to put this in there. Again, if you copy your starter template from VS Code, you've already got that. Maya, put this in there, please, right now. And I'm giving you about 2 or 3 minutes to do this. This has got to be in your index.html file that you created.
What is DIR equals LTR?
That just means left direction is left to right.
Okay, so that just comes up.
You could, yeah, that's fine.
Do I need to viewport device?
Well, eventually we're going to want to take what you're working on and we're going to want to make it responsive. That's what this is. That's what that's doing. Yes, you should put all that stuff in there. It's just considered good policy to do that.
So should I add those? Oh, okay.
All right. So let's talk about different ways that we can add JavaScript. I'm going to show you 3 ways you can add JavaScript right now. Did you hear me? I'm going to show you 3 ways. First is probably the worst way. So I'm going to, right here in my body, I'm going to put in here a comment that says adding JavaScript way number 1, worst way. All right. So I'm going to come in there and I'm going to type in this. We're keeping this unbelievably simple right now. All right, so we're going to put in here alert. Hello there. All right, just like that. Now, let me double check. Let me run it. See this? If yours works, this is what it should say. Hello there. I know that's a stupid thing, but it's designed to show you how one way that you can put JavaScript into a program. If you save that and you run it, you should get an alert box that comes up that says, hello there. So that's the first way. That's embedding JavaScript right into the body of the document. That's considered the worst way of doing things. Did you hear me?
No.
That's considered the worst way of doing things.
By adding JavaScript like that?
Right into the body like this is considered the worst way of doing it. So I'm going to take my comment line that's on the end here, and I'm going to comment this whole thing out that I just put in. See that? Now it's all in green. All right. Now I'm going to show you the second worst way of doing this. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy everything we had here. Look, I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to put it up in the head section. Okay? And I don't think that's going to run. It still did run. Let's see. It runs there too. So that's the second worst way, is putting it in the head section. So you might say, then why are, if these are the worst ways, why are you showing them to us? Because people, just because something is not a good way of doing something, people do it anyway.
Whenever I'm typing out script and hit enter, then type using /JavaScript.
Yeah, you can put that in. It doesn't hurt.
I can do that.
Right. So I showed you the worst way, and I showed you the second worst way. Do you remember when we did CSS? The worst way was to put the CSS right in your body. Remember that? That's the same way as this. The second worst way with CSS was to put your style tags right in your head. All right, now look on the screen, please. Just grab this line right here that says alert. That line, just that line. Copy it to the clipboard. All right, again, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to comment out that. So these are both commented out now. Now go to your other file under JS. So we want to open up under JS, we want to open up the source.js file. Open that up. Right now it will be empty there. Now we paste it in, but we've got to do a little bit more. Okay, just so you know. So what are we going to do? First thing we're going to do is we're going to paste that in. Alert, hello there, number 2. Notice how the alert's in brown? See that? But we're going to surround that. We're going to put here function, main, paren, curly brace. There. That's what we're doing. Right there. So type that into your file that's called source.js. After you've done that, make sure to save that file. That's 4 lines. That shouldn't take you very long to type it in, literally. And out of the 4 lines, 2 of them are just curly braces. All right, so I'm going back to my HTML. I'm going to have to make 2 changes. Notice again, this is commented out, and this is commented out.
I don't have the number 2 typed in.
Well, when we get done, I'll run off a hard copy of this. All right, so there's 2 things we want to do. First thing is we want to come in And normally, believe it or not, you do it in the body section right on the bottom. And we have to come in and say script source equals js slash source.js script. That's half the battle right there. All right? That's like when we added the external CSS file. It's like that. But we do it in the body section. Now, don't worry about typing. Just look on the screen here. Notice when I run this, what happens? Not a flippin' thing. Because we have to tell it to run that file. You understand what I'm saying? What we just told it was not to run the file. We told it to include the file. All right? Now, there's different ways that we can do this. We're going to do it like this. It's what I tried showing you yesterday. We're going to come in and say input type equal button on click equal main value equal run program. Now let me see if that works. All right, so I save that. Wait, see that? Now we got a button. All right, what's your question?
So whenever I type an input and tag, it goes down input type name and value.
You can put that in. So and that actually would be a good idea. So we'll put in your ID equal. All right. Run program, let's say, and name equal run program. Yeah, you could put all that in. Once you put all that in, save the file, then run the HTML. So this is number 3, and this is the best way. It is, but it's separating your code. So your JavaScript is in its own file, your CSS will be in its own file, etc. All right? So what we told the system to do right here was to make a button. We said when it clicked the button, look on the screen, when we click that button, call main. Main is what is in here, right? So we're telling it to call that. We're telling the name on the button to be run program. And when we ran it, maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't, on the button it says run program. All right? We gave it an ID, so if we want to play with it with CSS, okay, and we gave it a name. That name we're not going to use in here. That name is what you'd use in a server-side JavaScript class. We're not using that. Almost always, the name and the ID are the same. Almost always. All right? Well, what file didn't we touch yet? We didn't touch our CSS file, right? So, not that we have to do this, but I'm going to come in here and I'm going to, oh, oops, I don't want a new file, sorry. I want to come in here and I want to open that CSS file that we created. No. Okay, because it still thinks I want to play with this new file, and I would you stop it. All right, so file, open, find the CSS folder, find the style.css. It should be empty when it opens. All right, we'll say body, background, color, CCC, and we'll say for the button, let's just make it a little bit bigger. We'll say width 2 rem, height 2 rem, font size 1 rem. Alright, let me just see what that looks like. If it looks too crummy, we'll change it to something else. Didn't change a flip. Oh, because we got to add that CSS. So, got to come in here. Link rel equals style sheet. href equals css slash style.css. Now let's run it and look and see what it looks like. Well, it made the background color different. It didn't change my button. Not sure why. Equal button. Well, let's just do this. Run program. Don't worry. I mean, the CSS doesn't really matter at all. Anything you want to do to make the program look a little more aesthetically pleasing. Well, didn't like that, so. Well, it's getting there, and that works, but I don't know why that's looking so funky, but it is. Try it like this. I hate using pixels, but I'm going to anyway. Okay. There. All right. I'll give you all this code. It's no big thing. What I want you to take away from this, if you look on the screen, is that there are 3 ways to run a JavaScript program. The worst way is to just embed your JavaScript right into the body of the document. That's the worst way, because now it's mixed in with all of your HTML. All right. A way that's better, but still not the best way, is to put it up here, because it's still in the HTML document, but at least it's in the head and not the body. The best way is to put it into its own file. When you do that, you need a way to call it. Now, if we didn't want to make a button, we didn't have to. We could have gone into the body here. We could have said onload equal main. That means whenever the thing comes up, it would have called this. By putting a button in there like we just did, now we can call it repeatedly if we want to. Okay? So this should say, really should say, hello there, number 3. Does all that make sense? So there's 3 ways of doing it. Again, I'll run you off copies of these. But if that was too hard for you or whatever, it's what they show in the book. So the first thing they show in here is putting it in the head section. See that? Right in the head, between script tags. All right? Then they show you putting it right in the body. So there it is, script tags. Then they say the best way is to actually do it in its own file. All right? So we just went through all 3 of those. Okay? All right. Jump up to page 56, the JavaScript syntax. Now, Maya mentioned before that she's talked to people and they don't like JavaScript. I gave this example yesterday. You were taking the test. You may have heard it. You may not have. But to me, if you play guitar, and if you're playing a guitar, an electric guitar, and you're not that good, or you break a string or something, you can turn the amp up and you can still sound pretty good. I've heard people I know in bands, it's like, you're not that good of a guitarist, all right? But if you're performing and it's you and an acoustic guitar and nothing else, and you have no amplifier for it, and you screw up, everybody knows. All right? Next semester, when we do C sharp is the acoustic guitar. Every time you screw up, the program it'll poop out right there. Won't let you go on. JavaScript is like the electric guitar. If you forget to do something, it'll do it for you. It'll guess what you want, and it'll do that. That's still not a good thing to do, and that's unacceptable in my eyes. Yes?
So the other day I was getting a sandwich from Firehouse, and the guy that worked there was telling me about, he asked about ranking, like what I'm here for. I told him, and he was like, well, don't most people just use plugins in their website? No.
Okay, yes. Not most people, but a lot of people do.
Yeah.
All right? Okay, so let's say you go to Wix and you do that. Now it doesn't work. They want to charge you more money to give you technical support. A friend of mine got his website through GoDaddy. And he had three, he had 3 web pages. As soon as he wanted to create another one, you can, but it's now more a month. The other thing too is, okay, I'm asking you this question, it's not a joke. Okay, I don't know if you know what a Chilton auto manual is. They're about this thick. It's got everything there is about cars. Okay? Do I want my mechanic to be experienced opening up the hood, fixing stuff, or do I want a brand new person who's got a Chilton manual with everything to do in it? I want the person with experience. That's what you're getting here. But if you sit there and you do something with Wix or one of these other things, that's what you get. It's drag and drop. And a lot of times, when you drag and drop, you may not have everything available to you. What I'm going to show you when we get to the beginning of December, it's up to you if you want to load it or not, but I'm going to show you a software package where we're going to create a website. We're going to create a website in 5 minutes. And it's going to be very much like the Bootstrap website that I'm having you guys do. It depends on the package, is what I'm saying. A lot of times, yeah. So you can use Wix or whatever to do this pretty website, but if you want to click this button and make something special happen, they may or may not provide the capability to do that. You may have to still hire somebody to do that. Not only that, a lot of times when you get a website, not always, but if you get a website that's made from Wix or one of these, that's what it looks like. It looks kind of cheesy. You've got total control because you know how to work with colors. You know how to work with fonts. You know how to work with Google Fonts. You know what Font Awesome is. You may have used it a little bit, type of thing. All right? So, syntax is the rules of the language. If you walked in the first day of class and I walked in and I said, "Hi, I'm your instructor, Mr. Scott." Okay? You would have thought, fine. But if I would have walked in there the first day and said, "Mr. Scott, instructor, am I?" Hi. You probably would have looked at me like I was a little screwy. All right? In much the same way, maybe in your life at some time, your teacher said, "I want you to write a 1-page paper on this," whatever it is. So you write this 1 page, and it literally is 1 typed page. All right? Do you think if you did that, and it was all 1 sentence, your teacher would be very happy? I don't. Because you're kind of breaking the syntax. So imagine right here, grab any one of these. Even this. Let's just grab this paragraph. If you'd made that 1 sentence, the second rule is that JavaScript statements should end with a semicolon, and in that way, it will be easier to tell when one statement ends and the next one begins. And to help remind you to use semicolons, that would be bad. That is the syntax of the English language. In other words, if you're still confused, this page is made up of paragraphs. Would you agree with that? Each paragraph is made up of sentences. Each sentence is made up of words. Each word is made up of letters. Do you agree with all that? We end sentences with periods. In this book, if you look on the screen, they start each new paragraph with an indentation. Those are all syntax rules. All right? Now, as far as JavaScript goes, syntax rules. All right? JavaScript is case sensitive. Sometimes. They don't put that in there, but it's sometimes. Each JavaScript ends with a semicolon. Look on the screen. If I forget this semicolon, guess what? Works just fine. JavaScript, for lack of better words, basically puts it in for me. That's one of the places where it's not the greatest of languages. JavaScript ignores extra white space. Yeah, it does. If you want to split a statement over 2 lines, sometimes you can hit enter. Sometimes you can't. We'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. All right? So a JavaScript statement has a syntax. Okay? So let's go back and let's do this. Look on the screen, please. Let's use this JavaScript file that we're working on here, right there. So open up this one. And we're going to say here, var name equals, and in double quotes, put your name. And then put in this. All right, so have it look like this. Var name equals, I don't care what name you put in there, but put something in there. All right, then say hello there with a space, and then your double quote, space plus space name. All right? So, anybody want to guess what's going to happen when I run this? Yeah, it should. Okay? Run it, make sure yours works that way too. Work, Keegan? Okay. The problem is, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but the problem is, every time I run this, the name is the same. Would you agree with that? It's not that that's terrible, but every time I run it, it's going to say name equal Jeff. I don't want it to do that. I want you to be able to put in your own name. Did you hear me? All right. So I'm going to comment this out, and I comment in JavaScript with //. Did you see it turn green? See how it's blue and black? //. All right? It should. Otherwise, for whatever reason, your editor is not recognizing this. You'll see when we put in the next line whether or not it worked. You can try this too. I don't know if you on yours you can put in a /* and end it with a //. Try that and see if that works. All right, I'm not saying it will or it won't. Did yours work okay, Keegan? All right, so we've got that commented out. Now we're going to change this. We're going to say var name equal prompt. What is your name? And we're even going to put in a default value here that says, I don't know, Bob. All right? So put in that, please. Save it when you get done. Go back to your HTML and run it. Now look on the screen if you would. All right? Notice it says Bob. See that? If I don't change it, look what happens. Hello there, Bob. All right? But if I change it to Keegan, now it says, hello there, Keegan. So now what we've done is when we run this program, we can run it and keep running it and every time put a different name in. Does that make sense? All right? This is called a prompt statement. It prompts for information. So it writes on there, what is your name? Then on the next line where you enter something, if you put a default value in there, it puts that default value. You don't have to. If I left that out, there's just no value. So if I click OK, it says hello there, because there's no name. But I can still come in there and put in Maya, hit enter, and it says hello there, Maya. All right, but typically when you do this, usually you want there to be some kind of a default in there. Doesn't have to be Bob, but you get the idea, right? All right. So what I just showed you from the book, all right, is we just looked a little bit about JavaScript statements. Notice it says there it's case sensitive. Well, let's look. Look on the screen if you would, please. I'm going to go back to my code. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to say this. Prompt. See that with big letters? See that? And I'm going to try to run my program again. It doesn't recognize that. See that? It's expecting prompt, which is a call to a system method, to be in lowercase letters. See how it changed color too? All right. Now, you think this is going to work? Let's check. Oops. Why didn't it say hello there, Bob? All right. Did you notice what happened when we did it? It says, okay, I'll put in Jeff. And it just says hello there. And the reason that it did that was, look on the screen. This name and this name are two different things. Those are both case sensitive. Sometimes some of the stuff you'll put in won't be case sensitive. All right? Now, what if I wanted to say this? What if I wanted to say, what is your name? Oh my gosh, I hope it's Jeff. All right, so I typed in all that stuff. And I run the program. Got all that in there, right? Not a problem. But what if I did this? So I come in here and I say, what is your name? Just like this. Then I just hit the enter key right here. See that? Okay, I'm going to save it. I'm going to go back. I'm going to run the program. Nothing happened. I've got an error right now. Look on the screen. Maybe most important thing so far in class. I'm going to hit the F12 key. And notice it's telling me unexpected token on line 5. So it's letting me know on line 5 what I did was I took a string and I split it over 2 lines. You can't do that. I could have done this. What is your name? Then I could have said, whoops, plus, I think that'll work, but I'd have to start it and put it again in double quotes. See that? If I wanted to do that over 2 lines, that should work. And it does. What if I wanted, what is your name, to be on 1 line, and I wanted, oh my gosh, I hope it's Jeff, to be on another line? You understand what I'm saying? All right. So then at the end of this line, I put in here \n, means give me a new line. Let's see what that does. See how it's on 2 lines now? The ones you'll use most often are \n for a new line, \t for a tab, if you want to tab something. All right. All this making sense? So we looked at splitting it over 2 lines. Now, if I have this, Don't ask me why you would ever do this, but just so you know, if I want, don't type this in. We're not going to use it. I'm going to get rid of it right away. But if I came in here and I did this, so I came in and I said var x equals 17, var y equals 21, var z equals x plus y, oops, and then I said alert, the answer is z. That actually should print out the answer is 38. Okay? So let's double check. You don't have to type because I'm going to get rid of it in a minute anyway. Still going to come in and ask me my name. And hello there, Bob. The answer is 38. That's all cool, right? No problem. Now, what I want to show you, though, is why you do this, I don't know. But since it's not a string, notice I'm going to put each one of these things on its own line. Like that. I mean, that's pretty ugly and pretty stupid looking, but let's see if it still works. See how it still works? So if it's not a string, you can put it over multiple lines. All right? Again, you wouldn't want to do that, but you could. That's the point, is you could. All right. Identifiers. Identifiers are things you create. So when we said var name, name is an identifier. All right. When I said there at the beginning, function main, main is an identifier. It's a name I came up with. So identifiers can only have letters, numbers, the underscore, or a $sign. You're best off making them all letters. All right. They can't start with a number. They are case sensitive. You saw that with name. They can be of any length. I think there is a limit. I think it's 254 characters. So, you know, var, I am about to go and enter my name, etc., etc., etc. I don't know why you do that, but I guess you could. They can't be these words. This is on the bottom of page 59. These are reserved words. These are words that mean something special to JavaScript. So I can't create my own variable and call it else. In fact, probably, let's see, if I say here var else equal, okay, when I save this and try to run it, I know I'm going to get an error sooner or later. See that? And it's sooner. F12, unexpected token, else. And again, I click here and it even shows me the line number, all right, that it's on. Most of the time when you create variables, the things that start with the word var, most of the time in most programming languages, when you create them, you use what's called camel casing. So in other words, I'm going to get rid of these. Let's say that I made a variable that was called tax rate. You typically would call it tax rate. So if I was going to call it tax rate for the year 2019, you see how the first letter of each word except the first word is capitalized? That's the recommended way of doing it. Some people instead use this. That'll work as well. But it's recommended. This is considered the newer way of doing it. So I'll expect you to do it that way. All right. Comments I already showed you, // If you want a comment to go over multiple lines, starts with a slash followed by an asterisk, ends with an asterisk followed by a slash. Forward slashes for all those. So here's some examples. You do want to see them on the top of page 61. And comments are pretty nice because you can comment code out. So if I've got 100 lines and I know these 5 lines don't work, I can comment them out and check the rest of the program and see if it's still working. All right. Next, JavaScript data types. JavaScript has basically 3 types of data: numbers, strings, and booleans. Guess what? You saw all of them.
What would it potentially be like?
No, what I'm saying is it's the type of data. It can be numeric data. It can be boolean data, which is only true or false. Everything else is a string. When you put in a string, I already showed you this, just so you know, you can use, if you want to, you can use single quotes or double quotes. There's a problem here. Look at this. What's the problem in here? See this? Right now the system would be confused. If I save this and try to run it, and I get my error, missing parenthesis after argument list. It's not missing. It's the way this was written. So if I want to use this as an apostrophe, I have to put a backslash before it. That's called an escape character. We already looked at the backslash n for a new line. All right, I'll even put a backslash t in here just so you can see a tab. All right, but now with that backslash like that, let's see if this works. Well, it doesn't like the backslash t. Don't know why, but it doesn't. But you notice that worked. All right. All right. Trying to figure out why that wouldn't work, but it didn't. I'm just not going to play with it right now. All right. So here's examples of numeric types. Now, when we go to C#, there'll be several kinds of numbers. There's numbers with a decimal point and without a decimal point. Numbers with a decimal point are called integers or ints. They're whole numbers. Numbers with a decimal point are usually called floats or doubles. All right, they can have other names too. So again, single quotes or double quotes. And they have a little bit of verbiage about them, but I think we just went over them. How to assign values? You've been doing this. var variable name or var variable name equal value. If I do this, okay, just so you see this, if I come through here, if I would have done this, I would have just come in here and said var name, nothing else, okay, then the value of name is null, unknown. When you walk in here the first day of classes and I say, what's your GPA? You go, how the heck should I know? It's my first day of school. It's unknown. It's null. But I could do this and then say name equal. So I could do it over 2 lines like this. There's no value right now with what we're doing and doing it that way. It makes more sense to do it like that. All right. And again, I'm letting you read the verbiage on this. I just want to show you examples. Arithmetic expressions. You've already seen addition. You know these. This one is the one when I showed you that the other day. So remember the other day when I showed you this? That this is where I screwed up, and I want to just show it to you right now. So I'm going to take everything that's in here for now and comment it out. All right. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, let me fix this first. Now you know this because we looked at it. Now I can come in here and say var number equal prompt. Please enter a number. And by default, I'll make it 100. All right. And now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say alert. The number input was number. All right. So the rest of it is all commented out. So I'm going to run this. Let's run it once. Getting an error. F12. It's unexpected token on line 6. Oh, I didn't comment out that one, so that was on me. So let's run it again. All right, please enter a number. I'll leave 100 in there. The number was 100. Guess what? That's not correct. That's not 100. That is the string 100. It hasn't been converted into a number. All right? So if you look on the screen, you may want to type this one in just so you've got an example of it. All right? Or not. It's up to you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this. Parse int. Now it's saying enter a number and then convert it into an integer. Okay? It's not going to look any different when I run this. Looks the same as it did before. All right? But that is truly a number. What do you think is, I'm asking you this question. If I run this again, if I put in this, you want to guess what it'll say? Any guess as to what NaN stands for? Not a number. All right. So right now we're starting to write a program, but we've got no validation in there. Okay. So we can write this. Okay, we'll add to it in just a couple minutes. Make it look a little better and act a little better. All right. Plus plus, we'll add 1 to a variable. Minus minus, we'll subtract 1 from a variable. Just so you know. This is the order of precedence. You probably learned this stuff a long time ago. In other words, if I do this, I don't know if you had this, because I don't know what your high school, etc. training was. But if I come through here and I say x equals y plus z times a minus b divided by c. Do you know which one of those goes first? This one. Because you do multiplication and division before you do addition and subtraction. So the way this will actually execute is it'll be x equals, and the first thing it'll do is it'll take z times a. So that's the first step that it's going to do. The second step it's going to do is it's going to say it's not even x equals, but it'll do this first, then it'll do b divided by c. It'll do that second. Then it'll take y plus this, and then finally it'll take this a minus this. So what am I telling you? The way that this will actually work will be as if I use parentheses here, 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 and there. That's the way it'll actually work by default. All right. One of my students years ago, and I know that the word fairy has got weird connotations to it, but called me the parenthesis fairy. Because they said, man, you put parentheses in all over the place. Yeah, when I'm not sure, I put in parentheses, because then I'm taking control over how something happens. All right. Again, how to use arithmetic statements, we'll do that in just a few minutes. How to concatenate strings, guess what? You know how. The plus sign, I already showed you that. First name is Grace, last name is Hopper, so last name plus first name. That's done for string concatenation. to glue two strings together. All right. Now, for right now, I'm just going to skip 72, 73, 74, 75. We don't have to, because we can look at them. You've already seen alert, correct? You already saw that? You saw prompt. Print, as it says, you can use to print a page. Fine. So you've seen examples of those already anyway. I showed you parse int. All right. We'll look at parse int and parse float in a little bit. You can use document.write and document.writeLine. I think I mentioned this to you yesterday, to actually write stuff right onto a web page. Actually write stuff right on there. All right. Now, the only thing that's left in here, believe it or not, the whole chapter is what's left: 78, 79, 80, 81, and about 5 pages. But we're going to take a break, and when we come back from the break, we're going to look at these two programs in some detail. All right? So it is 9:58, 10:15, please. Like I said, I figured that we'll have about, if we do at least every time I lecture, we do 2 chapters, we'll have about 7 more periods of lecture. What does that mean? That means we'll have about 20 periods of lab. All right, if we can kind of hold to that.